They played Enter Sandman.
Yeah, I didn't hear it because I was up in the booth, and I guess, I don't know what I was doing at the time, but I probably was pretty busy at that time, or I was thinking about a million things, but I heard after the game they did. So good, well done. To everybody involved, well done.
Was that a special Jeff Hafley request to someone directly?
No, I had nothing to do with the request. I just talked to you guys and stuff magically appears. So I'll keep trying to bring up the ideas and you guys can take it from there. But I had nothing to do with it, honestly. But I guess that's pretty cool. Maybe start something new.
Anything else you want us to get done?
Anything else you guys want me to get done? You guys just let me know. All right. So it's we got some time left. So whatever you guys need, we'll work together on it. I like you guys got a good vibe today.
Food in the press box could use a little boost.
I don't get food in the press box. I think we might, but I'm just not hungry. I get coffee, I get water. There's Red Bull up there. Do you guys get all that too?
No Red Bull.
I usually have a Red Bull, a coffee, a water, a lot of gum.
Red Bull and the coffee.
Games are long. Usually messes with me that night. I can't fall asleep. And now I always ask my wife why I can't sleep the night after games. It's because of those booth drinks. All right, about the game. What do we got?
What'd you see in Nix when you guys were there for joint practice last year, and what do you think of what he's done since then?
Yeah, I mean, that practice felt like a long time ago, but I remember walking out of the practice and really the game, just being really impressed with a young quarterback. Had really good command for a young player in and out of the huddle. Good presence about him, good leadership. It wasn't big for him. He's got a strong arm. He can make the throws. He's good in the pocket. He can get out of the pocket. What he's shown this year in some big key moments is using his legs. He's made some huge plays at the end of the game. I picture the one against Houston at the end of the game where he went for the big run to lead him to the win. Just a really good young quarterback who's got a really bright future. And what they've done around him, they got a really good offensive line, right? They got good backs. I know the one is injured. Wideouts are good. The tight ends. I mean, when Ingram's out there, it's like having another wide receiver on the field. They've built a really good offense around him, and I think they'll just keep getting better. Obviously, it's right now, some might say the best team in the NFL. So going there, this will be a great challenge.
You hear all the time from edge rushers saying the more snaps they get, the more opportunities they get, the better rhythm they can get in to make plays. Kingsley doesn't have that, obviously, in his role, playing about a third of the snaps, but it seems like every week he's just finding a way to make a play or two that are really impactful. How's he able to do that, or how's anyone able to do that when they have that kind of role?
Yeah, I mean, not everybody gets to be out there for 60 plays. Actually, it's pretty rare for a defensive end in a lot of schemes to be out there for that many plays. A lot of guys have four guys dressed and they roll them and they keep them fresh, and there's a role for each one. Do you like one to set the edge in the run game? Do you like your pass rush group? What role do they have? I think he's a guy that embraces his role. I mean, to me, he is a starter. I mean, that's the way that I view him, and it's the way that he's practiced and prepared, and it's just his mindset and how hard he goes in the game. And I think he's had a really good year. I think it's the best football that he's playing. I think he's really tough. He's battled through some little injuries and doesn't say anything about it. He's really good at setting the edge. He shows up on pressures. He shows up on blitzes. He's good at dropping into different coverages. And probably the biggest play in that game was when he came off his side and made the play on a really strong back on the 3rd and 1 and knocked him back, which was able to get to 4th and 1 and intercept the ball. That's what I said to him right after the game. I mean, that was the play of the game. But it's guys like that, and it's guys like that we have on our team that play maybe a little bit smaller role in snaps than they might want to, but they play for each other, and they play real well. And it's guys like him, and it's guys like McDuffie, and sometimes you ask about, maybe a guy like Bullard coming off the field in a package, and those guys don't say anything. They just do their job as hard as they can, and good things are going to happen to them. And I'm really pleased with the way JJ's played.
Jeff, do you guys analyze what opponents do when Mike is off the field?
Oh yeah, that's a great point. I always look to see what people do, because my first reaction. What do you think my first reaction would be when Mike is off the field? They're gonna what?
They're going to throw deep.
Yeah, they're gonna throw deep. Now, looking at it, that doesn't pop out as much as I would have thought, but I 100% always look, and I'm always aware, because sometimes when I'm up there, and DeMarcus is subbing guys because he might need a blow. Sometimes my eyes are down and I might be looking at the call sheet and I look up and I'm like, all right, Mike is not in. You know what I mean? But the good thing is we got enough other good edge rushers and enough speed that have been getting there that, we've been doing a pretty good job of keeping away from the explosive pass plays. But that's a really good point because it is something that I always try to find a way to look at that.
Jeff, Evan was pretty open about his not taking Komet on the interception.
Yeah.
But he also talked about how, I don't know if it was Swift that he saw in the flat. So how's that designed to be covered, especially when you probably didn't have the personnel you would have preferred since you were thinking run there, right?
No, not necessarily true.
Okay.
We had the personnel that we wanted, and the call was for there were actually 3 calls I had written down on my call sheet for 4th and 1, and just so I have on my call sheet a 4th and 1 gotta have it call. So it says GTHI, and that's usually the call that I star that in a situation like that I think they're gonna run. And I had 3 calls written down, and that was one of them. So I made a call for the run, but at the same time, that was the other play we thought was coming. So we actually had a pressure to that side to try to pull up the quarterback. I told Quay right before the play on the thing, take a step back so you can get across and go get the back if they do run the roll pass, right? So Quay was coming to cover the back. Evan just decided not to cover the back and go take somebody else, which led Keyshawn taking his man. So we, I guess, essentially baited him into throwing an interception. But the play should have worked out where, and I don't need to get in all this detail, but for you that I will, Keyshawn had one guy. Evan should have stayed on his man. That man would have been covered. The ball would have never went over there. He would have either been pulled up or had to outrun Coop for the first down, right? The reason it might look like a run call is because, if we didn't have 2 guys in the A-gaps, they would have checked to a quarterback sneak, and it would have been a walk-in. Because if it's 4th down and you just have 2 open A-gaps, right, most of the time people are going to walk up and they're going to check to a sneak, and they were a sneak team, which was one of the things I was worried about. Because it wasn't even really 4th and 1. It was like 4th and inches, right? So in my head, I was like, all right, this could be a sneak situation, or they're going to run roll pass, which they ran earlier in the game. So are they going to come back to? And that's all the stuff within 10 seconds going through your head. Then Matt and I talked about taking a timeout so we could see the formation, so I could kind of get a picture of what they were going to do. We call that Kodak, right? Take a picture, see what they're in. Then we had 12 guys on the field, so we had to call a timeout anyway. So this whole thing's going on with no time. What's the call going to be? What are they going to run? The game's on the line. So we made a call for the run, but also thinking send pressure to the side. We thought we were going to get the roll pass. Evan just decided to go rogue, and it led to an interception. So he shouldn't do that again, but I'm very glad that he did on that play. So any more questions about that play?
No, that was really good.
All right.
Does that happen though, more than we would think? I coach
Guys.
basketball, and it's a totally different sport, but man to man, your man might not be your man, you might be with someone else. And do guys adjust on the fly, I guess is the question, like that more than you might think?
Usually when you're in man, if you decide not to cover your man and to cover someone else, bad things happen. Really, really bad things. We had another play in that game where we didn't cover our man and they hit a deep cross, and that was one of the explosive plays of the game. Yeah, usually that does not end very well. So, in my opinion on that play, we should have been covered, and it would have been interesting to see what happened. It was just one of those things where Key saw that he wasn't, so he took off, and he saw the quarterback, and he made the play. So, I hope stuff like that doesn't happen very often. It's usually not very good.
How hard is that to do from Keyshawn's perspective to come from the opposite perimeter to he got to pee in the end zone on Packers, right? I mean, to cover that much space and make that adjustment as you're doing it?
Yeah, this game's funny. Sometimes you have the perfect call in the perfect situation and you're right there and it doesn't work. And sometimes something like that happens and you make an interception. I mean, he just saw it. The ball was thrown behind and he made the play. So not easy to do, but good one for the Packers.
A few days ago, Matt was talking about Devontae Wyatt's impact as a run defender.
Yeah.
What did you see from the defensive tackle position this past game against the run?
Yeah, I mean, credit to those guys that we had, right? I mean, Colby and Carl played a lot of snaps, and then Brinson stepped up and played for a rookie more snaps than he's played all year. And then Riley jumped in, who just got here last week. So just getting to know him, he's getting to know the scheme, so we gave him a shot in that game. And, truthfully, I think that's a really good offensive line. I think it's a really good run game. I think the scheme's really good, and they are explosive. I mean, if you watch them against the Eagles prior, it was explosive after explosive, which was our whole thing in that game, was to make sure we had the run stopped and we weren't giving up big ones, especially coming back on the backside. And overall, I thought those guys did a really great job. I think we faced over 30 rushes and didn't give up a run over 9. So credit to them on that. In the first half, I thought it was outstanding. Pad level, striking, getting off blocks, staying in the gaps, squeezing on the backside, setting an edge on the front side. I thought as the game went on, I thought we wore down just a little bit, and I'm not blaming that on the interior guys. But overall, I thought those guys did a really nice job. I do, especially for some of the limited snaps a lot of those guys have played. And we got to continue to take steps and get better. But I think it was a good starting point against a really good interior group, 2 good backs, and a good scheme.
When you look at the totality of the run defense and about that wearing down, how much do you put on? You had 3 series of 10-plus plays starting late in the first half. Like, was that most of it, or how do you kind of decipher the impact?
There's some for me where I need to put them in better situations, right? So I'll always look at myself first. So there's some stuff that going back, I wish I had done a little bit differently to help them out. Then there's some, the players, we got to do our job and be more consistent and play our technique and line up right. And then that certainly has an impact. I mean, and it's twofold. We have to get off the field. And then I told Matt, he scored in like 40 seconds on the one after we were on like a forever drive. And I'm just looking at the iPad. And I look over to those guys. I'm like, great job. I was like, but gosh, couldn't you take a little bit more time off the clock? You scored too quick. And I'm joking. I hope we score quick all the time. But we were on the field a lot, and we need to do a better job of getting off in those situations. We were on the field too much to line up and play run after run after run like that. So we have to be better there.
Let me know if my thinking on this is wrong, but isn't that a tough spot to be in? Because if you're only giving up 3-4 yards a rush, I think generally that would be, you're doing what you want to do, but 3-4 yards a rush also gets to a first down. So isn't that kind of a tough position to find yourself in as well? You feel like you're stopping the run, but they're still ahead of the sticks?
Certainly when it keeps leading to like 3rd and 1, and we have to have more negative plays on the early downs, at the same time, you're not going to score a lot of points doing that. And our job is to keep the points off the board. And if our offense is scoring and we get ahead of people, you're not going to be able to catch us, And unfortunately in that game, they weren't able to. One of the disappointing plays was that 2-point conversion because I thought we had them stopped. And if we stopped them there, then it's game over and it's a whole we got to throw the ball type of game. So in situations like that, that's where we need to be better too.
Jeff, I know a couple weeks ago you talked about Rashawn and the impact he does have. And I know you don't just measure based on sacks. But
That's a great sweatshirt.
Yeah, it's the result of the Enter Sandman story, but I annoy these guys enough, so I don't want to tell you.
He's going to Siena. That's unbelievable. I didn't even notice that.
So,
this is great. I really am starting to look forward to these.
Us too.
But how's your mom grading them?
My mom, she would like that shirt too.
How do you get him going in the pass?
Again, and I say this truthfully, Rashawn's playing the run game, and I know you don't want to hear about the run right now. Rashawn's playing the run game way better than he did last year, in my opinion. All right, we're not getting many drop back passes. We're getting 7-man, 6-man play action protections where it's about rushing and converting. And a lot of times you got a tight end and a tackle on you, you got a tackle and a back on you. So at the same time, he's not getting as many opportunities, right? And then even on these 3rd downs, we're getting more runs and screen on 3rd down than I've ever been a part of. So do we want him to have more pressures? Certainly. I'm giving you a reason, and yes, I am defending him because I actually think the guy's playing really well, right? And I think a lot of times you look at I think people look at things very black and white when you have to look deeper into it, right? And just because a guy might not have pressures in a game or sacks in a game, that doesn't mean he didn't play well. Micah Parsons didn't have a sack in the game last week. Micah Parsons had an unbelievable game last week. He had totally affected the game, but he didn't have a sack. So if you're going to be results-based, then you can call it what you want. But if you want to look deep and look at the whole process and how he truly affected every play, he had a really good game. If hopefully we'll get a chance to get in a game where the ball's going up in the air and there's a lot more drop back passes and he'll have more opportunities to rush.
2 more, please. Jeff, what do you need?
I'll get you.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
Oh, I just had a question about Bohanna. Just first impressions of him, obviously, Matt talked about being a mountain of a man, but
He's a mountain.
what kind of stands out to you about him?
Just knowing him for a week and just watching him, he's a very big person. I mean, and watching some of the double teams in practice, he's really hard to move. He'll get engaged and a guy will try to bump him and he doesn't go anywhere. He's got really good leverage. He's got wide hips. He knows how to use his leverage. Just watching his tape in Seattle, I think he does a good job getting off blocks, and I think he's a really good run defender. It's been a little bit hard this week because we haven't been in pads to really get a true gauge of that physicality that I saw on tape. So we're just trying to do the best we can right now, see where we're at, and make a decision as we go.
Last one.
I'm sort of going to make reference to that about the double team blocks. You had TJ Slayton last year who could take those on, but it was kind of a different animal this year, right? Without Kenny and then Devontae. So are you kind of back to a little bit of what you were doing last year? If you bring these guys in.
We've here. Go ahead. Did you have more to add to the question? One, I do. Let me say this. I think we're playing the run game pretty well. I mean, I know there's been some runs that have hit us, but I think these guys are playing really good run defense, and I think it's helped us. Early on, did we have to change a little bit? You lose Lucas, you lose Devontae, and then Devontae comes back, and now he's gone again, and you got to keep seeing what you have and put these players in positions to make plays, right? So there's a lot that goes into that. When you have a bigger guy, do you put him in heavier personnel groups where you're going to get more gap scheme and more double teams rather than stretch plays where you don't want a guy to get cut off and you have to run? Does that make sense? So certainly that goes into thinking it. When you have a bigger guy, do you want to play him more head up on a center so he can get his hands on the center and be in better position so he's not chasing rather than playing maybe in a shade or a G, meaning shaded off more to the guard? So yeah, I think when you have a player, you have to figure out how to best put him in position, again, rather than just say, hey, this is our playbook. So yeah, your point is accurate. We've had to see who we have available, who's healthy, right? And figure out the best way to set our fronts to win the game, but allow them to succeed in the game. So we'll continue to do that in whatever we need to do to win the game. And it looks like we're going to have to continue to evaluate,
Jeff?
Yeah.
Did your daughter see the bracelet she made you on TV this week?
Yeah, she did. So I don't wear it now, but my one daughter, after one game, she made me this big bracelet with like green and yellow and beads and a heart on it and a Packers logo. So she wants me to wear it to the games, which is what he's referring to, my daughter Leah. So I always wear it during the game. So the first time I wore it was under my sleeve, so she couldn't see it. So in the last game, I had it like above my sleeve, and she does. She's only 7, so she'll pause the TV and she'll want to know if I'm wearing it or not. And I always wear it up there. I know you saw it and commented on it, so I really do appreciate you seeing it, bringing that up, because I know she'll appreciate it. But she did see me when I kind of let out my fist pump. She was all fired up because sure, it was right there, right there. But that's the cool part, You got little kids at home and who appreciate little things like that, and that's cool for me to be able to do as a dad. So thanks for asking me that question. And thanks for noticing.
It's called product placement, right?
Maybe if she wants to start selling them, So you guys we're helping each other now. You guys good?
You can get that Red Bull advertising deal if you put them just right.
Yeah, I might.
They show you 20 times a game, obviously.
Yeah.
Because you want your 7-year-old chicken Red Bull.
Well, I didn't need that.
My 7-year-old does not. She wants apple juice and water. That's all she gets. I can't be drinking Red Bull either. It's not good for me.